Welcome to the Living Ageless and Bold podcast. Each episode, I bring you amazing women who inspire, educate, and share their experiences and journeys along the way. So grab a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's relax and have some fun hearing what can be accomplished after 55. She has facilitated over 33,000 dates, and those have resulted in over 10,000 marriages. Andrea McGinty is America's premier dating expert. She's called the Godmother of modern dating. And this is really cool. I got really excited about this because all of you know what this is. In the 90s, she's the one who founded It's Just Lunch, the matchmaking service that ended up being in like 110 countries worldwide. Such a brilliant concept. And now she's focusing on singles over 50 with her new platform, 33,000dates.com. And she's just released a new book called Second Acts: Winning Strategies for Dating Over 50. Welcome, Andrea.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Christina. That's hard to live up to, everything you said.
Oh my God. Well, like I said, when I was doing my research, I'm like, wait, it's just lunch. We all know what It's Just Lunch is. Like, that was the most brilliant matchmaking concept ever. No bars, and this is, you guys know this is before we had online dating. This was, the only way you met people was through friends, and then you met at a bar and had a drink. So how did all this start for you?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a serendipity. I'm a finance and accounting major, which I have to say I've never used once in my life, because what happened to me was I was in my early 20s. I was living in Chicago. I was getting married. And 2 days before the wedding, he calls it off. And
wait, 2 days?
2 days. Oh, I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
2 days before the wedding. And I was, of course, devastated. Crying, just like, ugh. But you know what? I'm a pretty positive person, I suppose. And so, I kind of get through that phase a month or two. And then what happens next? Okay, remember that this is 1990. There's no Google. There's no online dating. There's your friends. And of course, Chicago's vibrant and, has a good, downtown life and everything. But my friends would fix me up on dates and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm 5'10". And, nothing against short people, but like a 5'5" man, I just felt like a giraffe, I mean, none of these dates were working. So I got the idea. An executive recruiter called me about a professional opportunity. And I was thinking to myself after the call, geez, I wish she was calling me about a personal opportunity. Being like, hey, Andrea, I've got these 3 ideas of men that I think you'd really like. Let me run through their bios really fast. And that's how I got the whole idea. I was like, oh,
ding,
wait,
ding, ding.
I could, ding, ding. Yeah, like I could be that person. So I rushed down to the Chicago Public Library. I'm going through like everything to make sure there's nothing like this out there. And then I sit down, write a business plan. Of course, there's no business plan books in those days. I borrowed it from a friend who has a really large restaurant chain now, and he had written a business plan. And I wrote my business plan, and then I showed it to a couple of people, and including my brother. I have a ton of brothers and sisters, large Irish Catholic family. Okay, show it to my brother, the CFO type. He's like, this will never work. This will never work.
And I thought you were going to say he said it was a great idea.
He's married too, so he's like, right. Oh, this is stupid. So anyway, later on, he ended up on my board of directors, by the way. Okay.
I was going to say, I hope he became an investor.
Yeah. So, I started pretty much with nothing, but the one thing I knew I was good with people. And I had set up one friend in high school and 2 of my college suite mates who ended up getting married, and they're still married today. And I thought, this is so easy. You know what? I'm going to start my own. And it's going to be all about you meet for an hour, for lunch or for a drink after work, no pressure. And, you just kind of see how it goes and we get the feedback and then we just keep, matching you, et cetera, et cetera. So fast forward, it grows and let's just first say a couple of things. I was almost bankrupt every day in those early days. I mean, every week I'd be like, oh God, please, more people sign up. So
I have a quick question though.
Sure.
Well, I guess I'm thinking that early 90s, computers were just coming out. The internet was just starting in 1991. So how did that work? Because it just wasn't robust yet.
Oh, you know what? No. And I remember we had this little Apple computer, or no, it's like humongous Apple computer in our office. Somebody donated to us. And I'm looking at it, I go, what does it do? And everyone else is like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, you could just sit over there. Okay, we don't know what to do with it. But this is what I discovered. I started It's Just Lunch with $3,000. $3,000 went into little tiny shared office space in downtown Chicago, and the remainder in putting together this brochure. Who has brochures anymore? A brochure. But then I realized I don't have any money to mail these out, right? That would be really expensive. So I talked a couple of my girlfriends into a Saturday night, 2 a.m. So it's really 2 a.m. Sunday morning. I'm like, we are going to go deliver these and put them under people's doors in Lincoln Park and the Gold Coast and, the good neighborhoods in Chicago where there's the 20, 30 something crowd. Okay, so we start out and right away I see the Chicago Tribune guy. People got newspapers back in those days.
Right. And they're delivering early in the morning.
Yeah, delivering early in the morning, the big fat Sunday paper. And it's in this nice plastic bag. And I'm like, oh, let's follow him around and we'll put our brochure in the Tribune. And everyone will think, oh, wow, they're credible. They have money. They advertise in the Chicago Tribune. And I never thought about, somebody said to me afterwards, we could get sued. And I'm like, yeah, so what? I don't have any money. Go ahead and sue me.
Andrea, I have goosebumps. That is brilliant. Brilliant. Oh. I've interviewed these incredibly successful women, and they all have a story like this. They all did something crazy, but it worked. They didn't have any money. They did guerrilla marketing. And that is brilliant. Okay. So keep going. So now you've handed out your thousands of flyers in the Tribune.
Yeah, we've handed out the flyers. And, I raced back to my office on a Sunday morning. I've got my bagel, I've got my coffee, and I'm thinking, oh, these phones are going to blow up. Chicago's not going to know what hit them. And the very first phone call I got was from this woman. And she said, she's probably around my age or a little older. And she said, oh, you know what? If you give me some dates, I'll get you some PR. And I'm like, what's PR? What's PR? Can you believe that? It's 1990. What's PR? We all live and die by that now, right? And so the next thing I knew, she got me a little blurb in a business magazine, and then Chicago Magazine picked it up. Then the Wall Street Journal picked it up for that little quirky column they do at the bottom of the front page. And then People Magazine picked it up. And all of a sudden we were like, whoop, riding high. And then the other thing that happened, now we're 2 or 3 months into it. I'm starting, to grow some membership, and I'm starting to make some money. Not enough money to survive, but enough money, And of course, I'm not paying myself anything. And I'm standing in this grocery store in Chicago, and I get this tap on my shoulder, and it's this girl. And her name's Cheryl Trieger. If you're out there somewhere, I don't even know her that well. I've met her at a party the previous week. And she tapped me on the shoulder, and she goes, and what was going through my mind in the line was, oh my gosh, I hope I don't go bankrupt this week. That was what was going through my mind.
So all entrepreneurs do at the beginning.
Yeah.
Please, I just have one more bill to pay. Just let the money come in so I can pay that one bill.
Exactly. She taps me on the shoulder. She goes, how's your dating thing going? I heard about it. And I go, oh my gosh, it is going amazing. It's great. I have this couple, Jack and Roberta. I think they're going to be my first marriage. I can totally see that they were my first marriage, by the way. And so I just went on and on about, that. Of course, you're never going to say like, I'm terrified. I want to throw up right now. My stomach is upset, and that after she goes, oh, that's great. La, 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 la. She calls me that afternoon and she goes, we don't know each other well, but I'm a producer at CNN. And we would like to follow a couple out on a date tomorrow and have you kind of narrate and interview you. And that was like, whoosh, it took off from there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I understood PR all of a sudden. Like the power of not having to pay for the editorial or not trying to pitch editorial. So from there, we went next to the New York City market. I lived there prior to Chicago. And, we fast forward 10 years, no, more like 12 years. And we have 110 locations all over the world. And it just kept growing and growing and growing. And then about, and remember, there was a stigma about this initially. Anyone who had to use a dating service
there's something wrong
was
with
a
them.
loser, right? Yeah. And by now, online dating is in its infancy. Match.com's come out. Google's, stretching its legs. They know what they're doing. But the years 2000, 2005, it's still very chaotic. It's, there's, all these dating sites, apps, etc., on the market as people get these iPhones around that time. And there's so much scamming going on, and there's so many, it gets a really, really bad rap. Okay, jump to 2010. Online dating, some of them, not all of them. By the way, there's 1,400 online dating platforms out there in the United States. So there's a lot of them. There's some that are really good, and there's some that are, I keep my clients away from. So it's about 2010, and the same week I have a private equity group from New York and Match.com approach me to buy the company. And I thought, you know what? I see the writing on the wall here. I see what's going to happen. I see that online dating is going to be the biggest thing in the world because so many people will have an opportunity to meet people. Plus, I also knew from my siblings and friends, nobody really knew how to work it right. And I understood it because I grew up with it. So anyway, I accepted the offer from the private equity firm. Good move. At that point, I had my first daughter, and she was just a couple years old. So I thought this is a good time to sell. And I thought, I'll take a year off, travel, which I did, by the way. I just grabbed her, and we were just like off everywhere. But then I got a phone call. Oh, by the way, from the same brother who thought this was a really stupid idea, who said, is now divorced, and said, oh, I tried this online dating. It's awful. And I'm like, okay, where are you? What are you doing? Give me your password. Give me your login. And I go in and I'm looking. And again, this is a good looking, successful guy. Like, for somebody so smart, you're an idiot. And of course I can say that. It's my brother, right? And so I go in there, I fix his photos, I fix his profile. And 2 weeks later, he's like, I'm getting really good dates. I'm like, thank me. And I thought, oh my gosh. And then this 33,000 dates exploded, because then that's how I came up with the name. Because at that point I had set up over 33,000 dates, and I just loved the challenge of online, because Now we're going through the same thing again, getting rid of the stigma of online dating. But of course, I'm not 22 or 25 anymore. Now I'm like in my 40s, right? So who's my target market now? It's like the 40s and 50s. And then as I grow older, it's the 40s, 50s, 60s.
That's okay.
And now that's who I primarily work with now, is that age group, because they didn't grow up with it. I mean,
I was just going to say that. Like, I've been married almost 30 years. And for my friends who become single, whether they lose a spouse or divorce, and I think, oh my God, what would I do trying to do this, and like helping single girlfriends, do their profiles. And you're right. I mean, we're savvy enough on the computers, but to put yourself out there on a site, and like you said, your brother probably thought, oh, this is good. And you looked at it and were like, oh, this is terrible. Like, I would not know what to do.
Right. And you know what, that's the number one issue, is they don't know what to do. And there's 1,400 sites. How do you pick the right one? And this is what happens. Inevitably, they'll pick one maybe that a friend's using. And it could be a friend in New York is having success with it, but they live in Dallas. What's working in New York is not working in Dallas. Because I have this client who was using Coffee Meets Bagel in New York, strong there, good site.
I haven't even heard of it.
Oh, Dallas, there's like nobody in it.
Right.
And, she calls me and she's like, there's nobody on the site.
In Dallas.
So what happens to people? They give up. And they give up after 2 weeks. They're like, this is horrible. This is awful. But they're getting used to the idea that we've given up our privacy. We have given up our privacy. But you know what? We're getting love out of it. Who cares? You already have an Instagram account. You already have a Facebook account. You're already on LinkedIn. Who cares? And, so that's still, I still get some pushback from those women in the 40s, 50s, 60s, like, oh, my photo is going to be out there. And they're all my second acts. They're like, they got married, they got divorced, they had kids. The kids are now in high school or college. And they're like, what do I do? Well, how do I meet people? I live in a, bedroom community. Where are these people? I'm not living in, Chelsea, and I'm not living in Lincoln Park in Chicago. How do I meet people? So I walk them through the entire process and how to pick out. I really end up sticking with the top 25 or 30 dating apps or sites that are out there, because now, as we get into the 20 teens, they're so much more credible. There's verification processes, because before that, you didn't know if this guy or this woman online was really who they said they were, or they just grabbed photos from, the internet and tossed them up there. So now there's like verification, there's credibility.
And I imagine it's a numbers game. The top 25 or 30 are going to have a much bigger pool than the 1,400th dating app.
Right. Exactly. And the other thing is, you want to be careful too, because dating sites tend to slant. They're either male-centric or female-centric. So, as a woman, we want to be on one that's heavily male. And when I say heavily male, like a Match.com overall, just that company, it's about 75 to 80% women. 75 to 80% men. So it's a very good choice, as long as you understand the algorithms and being able to filter out, because there's a lot of junk there. It's like you go to the parking lot at Costco, like, what do you see there? You see Lamborghinis, you see beat up like cars that look like they belong in the dump, right? You
1980 station wagon. Yeah.
Right. And you're going to see everything on Match. So it's a matter of filtering it down to exactly what you're looking for. So it's, not this needle in this big, in a barn. It's a needle in a little Easter basket. And it's much easier to find. So that's what I do. That's what I do with clients now, because those, 45 to 65 year olds, they didn't grow up with online dating. You know, they're like me. But I was in this field. So of course I did. I've got 3 kids in their 20s and they're like, oh, Mom, this is easy. I'm on Raya. I'm on Hinge. I'm on Bumble. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh.
I thought Raya was the celebrity one. You have to be, that's like the exclusive, you have to be invited to get in there.
Oh, yeah. My youngest daughter, like, she really thought she was going to impress me when she told me the other day, Mom, I'm on Raya. And I go, that's nice. Oh. Because Raya, unless you're in New York, Miami, or Los Angeles.
LA, that's what I heard.
Forget it.
Yeah.
You know, they've got a good little marketing twist there with like that invitation thing. And, you know, supposedly saying Ben Affleck's on it. Ben Affleck's not on it. Let me just tell you right now. So when I'm working with clients, they sign up for like a 3-month package with me and we do everything because you've got to give, it is a numbers game, something you brought up earlier, and you've got to give online dating 3 months. A lot of people want to quit after, 2 weeks. No, you got to stay in the game. And that's where I come in, where I'm really, really good at this. Because when I'm first developing like what platform, like Christina, let's say you weren't married, and you came to me, you've been married 30 years, all of a sudden you're not. I'm going to delve into a lot of personal questions about you and, what you're looking for and what your last relationship was like and things like that. And then I'm going to start to write your profile, but at the same time I'm writing your profile, I'm running numbers. So I'm a business person. I mean, I approach this, and my whole new book approaches this in a very business-like manner. So what I mean by that is I use Pew, Gallup, Statista, and a couple others where I pay a lot of money each month for their research that the average person can't just buy for themselves. And that way I know for sure, like I can plug a zip code in, that you're female, that you're 40, and, a little information about you. And it's going to give me 5, choices, and they're going to give me some, demographic information and, level of education, et cetera, et cetera. So 1, we're picking the right dating site. 2, we've got the right profile, because what people tend to do, whether it's a Bumble, which would be a very short form profile because you're only allowed like 350 characters, or a Match where you're allowed, write a novel if you want. But if you're a woman, and I'll speak to women right now, the shorter and sweeter and unique your profile is, the more men will be interested. Try to write it in bullet points. Try and no more than 3 paragraphs. That's it. Because the first thing they're going to go to is the next thing I help people with, photographs. And I just had 3 new clients yesterday, and we were talking about photographs, and all 3 of them, after they showed me their photos, I said, you're going to a professional photographer. They're like, okay. And I don't mean like, one with like a swirly background behind them or a LinkedIn type of photo. I mean like, okay, this one lady is really into, what is she into? Outrigger racing or something. I'm like, we've got to get a really cute picture of you doing that. A cute picture of you sailing. That's kind of your thing. We want some action shots. So, and we want you to look good, and a professional photographer is going to do it. And that doesn't mean editing photos, or making you look better. And, I'll go to the last thing I do. And then I want to talk about AI for a second, and how that's affecting this entire industry. So the last part then that I work with them on the weekly coaching calls is messaging. Because people don't know how to message.
Oh my gosh. I work with my clients on that. People do not know how to message in anything, personal, professional, and it's so important.
No, you know what? They don't. And I'm flabbergasted when I'm looking at some of these intelligent men and women, or my New Yorkers, that are so brash with their like, hey, what are you looking for? I'm like, Laura, you can't send that out. You're adorable. And that's like, a question maybe you ask on the 5th or 6th date, in a nicer way. They don't know you yet. So, messaging, it's got to be fun. It's got to be a little flirty. And, when I'm working with CEOs, they're like, flirty, Andrea? I'm like, yeah, okay. The first 2 calls with them, I generally write all their messages. And they're on the phone with me. We're on the site or the app together. And I read it out loud to them and they're like, are we really sending that? I go, yeah, we are. And they're like, okay. So what to expect from messaging? Okay. 1 out of 5 people will message you back. That's it. So for every 5 messages you send, you should expect 1 back. And people will tell me, and I've got rules as part of my, whole strategic way of dating about how much time you're allowed to spend online a week, because this should not feel like a part-time job. This should not feel like a full-time job, and things that they have to do before the next call with me. And, so the messaging part and getting them off messaging as fast as possible and getting them to meet in real life, that's crucial. I followed the Stanford study for 22 years. They say that if from the time you first reach out to somebody online to the time of your first date, if it isn't within 5 days, the chances of the date ever happening is about 10%.
Wow. Now, do you work, especially with the women, again, our age group, the first thing I think of is safety. Because when we dated, you always, like my husband, I knew his college roommate, and turns out I went to high school with people he knew. Like there was some connection. So most of my friends who are married, there was a connection, either college or a college friend or a high school friend. Now it's like you're swiping and, is it safe? Is he really who he says it is? I had one girlfriend who dated someone for a year and started seeing some red flags. And for whatever reason, looked at his license, whatever, it was a different name. Like he was married and his wife was pregnant and she had been with him for a year. He said he was Secret Service and that's why he was gone and couldn't tell her where he was going. But she's not the only one who has stories like this. So I'm just tainted on it. Like how do you protect yourself? A, safety, and B, that.
Right. Okay. So you do have to use care. Okay. First, safety. Safety, you're going to meet it because you do not have that connection through a friend. So you're never going to have this person pick you up at your house or your home or your place of work. You're going to meet them at a safe venue, for lunch or drink after work and keep it safe that way. As far as your friend, going out with somebody for a year, I would really have a lot of questions for her because obviously she probably has never been to his house and spent the night there, right? Because how could she?
He did though. I don't know if he rented an apartment or used a friend's apartment it was believable till it wasn't, till then the things really, cause same, like, why aren't we going on vacation together? Why aren't we posting pictures of us? And it was always his job, he couldn't do it, which made sense at first. We were all kind of like, but okay.
Right.
But she's not the only one. I've had other people like that.
Yeah, those are very big red flags that you just threw out there.
Okay.
About just online dating in general, because I would say by the time you're in your 3rd month with somebody that you're dating, you should go on at least a weekend getaway and get to know them. And it's just a road trip, get to know them, better, get to know. I had one woman, she went on a weekend with somebody to Savannah and they were going to a concert and they were a little late and they couldn't find parking because he was late picking her up. And again, they'd been dating for a few months. And he grew very, very angry, over not being able to find a parking spot. And she was like, right away, like, red flag, I'm out of here after this concert. That she really wanted to stay, you see. So she stayed for the concert, and then she blew him off, which was the right thing to do. But if you're seeing like something like anger or something like that come out, okay, back to your friend and back to women who find themselves in situations like that. There's a lot of things you can do. Number one, put him in Google Lens, his photo. Put his photo in Google Lens. Google Lens it picks up 95% of people in the world and will give you some bio and information. Free people search. That's another one. She probably had a first name and a last name, and then she would know right away that it wasn't, jiving with what name she knew him by. And another red flag would be, not posting those intro pictures like I'm in a relationship.
Being Instagram official.
Yeah, right. We're official. So those are red flags, and that's where a good dating coach can come out and help you too, and help you see those red flags. Every day when I'm coaching people, as we're running through men or we're running through women, and I'm teaching, and they'll be like, this one looks good. And I say, I see a big red flag here. Where is it? And they'll look and they'll look and they'll look, and I'm teaching them, and they'll go, oh, I'm like, yes, that's a big red flag right there.
And these things are in your book. Like somebody could start with your book, kind of go through that, and then if I was single, I would be coming to you. I think you would take so much of the guesswork and the fear and everything out of it. Tell people about your book and where they can get it.
Okay, so here's my book. Yay! This is my baby. I think I've had this book inside me forever. But it's a dating manual. I mean, it's all about online dating. There's no fluffy stuff or extra words added. It's strategy. I'm telling you exactly what you need to do to reach your goal. So, I tell my story in it, but also what's unique about it, there's 14 worksheets in the book, and they're really helpful to fill out. Everything from what's my brand? What's my brand online? How do I want to be looked at? Because you already have a brand on Instagram. You do. And same with like your LinkedIn account. You already have a brand. So, what are you trying to portray to the world? All the way to the very end of the book, which the last one is write a personal business plan for your love life. And people are like, oh, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, you bet I'm serious. Because this goes over everything like, what am I looking for? What are my barriers to entry? How am I going to go about this? Am I doing this alone? It asks a lot of really good questions. And now you're walking into it strategically, not just like, I'm going to go on and then I'm going to put myself on, let's say, Hinge, and I'm going to scroll through a couple guys. I'm going to see these guys with like beards coming down to their, belly button, and then be like, oh, this is horrible. This is horrible. I'm done. I'm done with online dating. So this gives you every step of the way. It walks you through how to date. And then, how to reach out, how to write messages, how to write your profile. If you can't afford me, this is the place to start. So I would say, start with the book. Now, what I'm good for, as clients will say, I'm a good partner. I'm a good cheerleader. Because you know what? There's rejection, and you've got to have a thick skin. And like I don't have a thick skin, and not many people do. I remember, I was married for 24 years, and I got divorced, and I didn't date for 4 years. Met my husband on Match or Bumble? Match. My current husband, who is lovely, but I remember there were a couple men I sent messages to. I was like, they're perfect for me. Why haven't they written back? And then I was like, Andrea, stop it. you would not be telling your clients to, ruminate over why these men didn't, get back to you. It's just, it's their problem, not yours. And there's so many people out there, you don't need to worry. Do we have time to talk about AI?
Yeah, I would love to have you back because we could talk forever on this. So why don't we do a dating 2.0, and we'll do that because I have so many more questions I wanted to ask you about all of this. So I would love to have you back. And
thank you.
Yeah, everyone listening and watching, if you are single, if you have single friends, get the book. It'll be in the show notes. Go to 33,000dates.com. Is that correct?
Right.
Yes.
33000dates.com.
Dates.com. And I was on the site, and there's all kinds of resources, and there's a quiz, and there's lots of just starting information. Andrea, thank you. The stuff that you gave was great. Things I never would have thought of. I can't wait to share this episode with my girlfriends too, who definitely could use you.
Thank you, Christina.
And I hope you will come back because I would like to do an AI. Definitely. Because I'm sure from a scary perspective too, we could talk a lot about fake profiles and things that we have to be careful on. So I would love to have you back. So thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening or for watching this episode of Living Ageless and Bold. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit subscribe. And if you like the episode, I hope that you will give us a great review. You can also head over to livingagelessandbold.com and sign up for information, inspiration, and exclusive opportunities for us, women over 55. Thanks for listening. And remember, no matter what you do, keep living ageless and bold.